Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some really interesting material you sent in this time, excerpts from Life's Amazing Secrets by Gaur Gopal.
Yeah, looking forward to this. Gaur Gopal, he's got quite a story.
He really does. Electrical engineer then. What, over 20 years as a monk in Mumbai?
That's right. And now he's this global voice,
Yeah.
life coaching, reaching millions online since about 2016.
And sought after by corporates, universities, charities.
Absolutely. And he even got this title, didn't he? The Ideal Young Spiritual Guru.
Yeah, from the Indian Student Parliament, MIT Pune. Quite something.
Definitely.
What really jumped out at me from the book, maybe for you too, was this core idea about happiness and purpose coming from balance.
Oh, absolutely. That's central. And you see that reflected even in the endorsements, right? People like Devendra Fadnavis, Nitin Gadkari.
Hema Malini too. They all seem to pick up on that theme. Balance, purpose, and how well accessible the guidance feels.
Exactly. And he uses this great metaphor to frame it all. Life is a car.
Right, the four wheels.
Yeah, the four wheels.
Mm.
Work, relationships, spirituality, and social contribution,
And then there's the steering wheel, guiding it all.
which he breaks down into spiritual practice, association, character, and service. The whole point being everything needs to be aligned, working together to get where you want to go.
Okay, so let's dig into that a bit. Our mission today is basically to pull out the key insights from these excerpts you shared: happiness, relationships, work, selflessness. Give everyone a shortcut to understanding his main points.
So it's good. Where should we start?
How about that section, forgetting the keys to happiness? That really stuck with me.
Ah, yes. It kicks off with that funny little anecdote about him maybe overdoing it with the sambar after saying it was his favorite.
Yeah, a relatable moment, but then it shifts, doesn't it, to the story about Harry.
Right. Harry showing off his fancy new car and promptly locking his keys inside in the parking garage.
Oh dear. Classic. But it's the contrast that's powerful, isn't it?
Exactly. Because stuck in traffic later, Harry confesses. This seemingly perfect life? Not so much.
His marriage to Lolita, the pediatrician.
Under serious stress, long hours, no quality time, arguing all the time.
And she'd even mentioned divorce.
Right. So you have this image of success, the car, the status. But underneath, he's deeply unhappy.
It really highlights that modern paradox, doesn't it? Mastering the look of success, but not the feeling of it.
Absolutely. It's like we focus so much on getting the external things right that we forget the internal ones, the actual keys to feeling happy. Harry had the status, but he'd lost sight of, well, the joy.
So the big takeaway there is don't lose the real keys, the relationships, the inner peace while you're chasing worldly success. Makes you pause, definitely.
It does. And then following on from that, the book moves into how we build those connections, starting with listening. The journey begins with listening.
Such a fundamental point.
And so often overlooked. Das makes that simple observation. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Maybe you listen more than you talk.
It sounds obvious, but it's hard in practice sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
But often just being truly present, really hearing someone out before jumping in with advice. That's incredibly powerful. That's silent presence.
He shares that story about visiting his own spiritual guide, Radhanath Swami.
Yeah, in this tiny room, just 5 square meters, in the middle of this bustling ashram in Mumbai,
Filled with books and instruments.
reflecting this incredible simplicity and, well, wisdom. It's a grounding image.
And the point being,
Well, the value of having someone like that in your life, someone who offers that focused, understanding presence when you're facing challenges, that quiet listening space.
that makes sense. Okay, moving on, there's a whole section on gratitude. Press pause for gratitude. Starts with the cumin seed.
Ah, yes, the cumin seed incident. He described so vividly how this tiny little annoyance, a seed stuck in his teeth, just completely consumed his attention.
We've all been there, right?
Totally. But his point is how easily our minds latch on to the negative, blinding us to all the simple joys right in front of us. We need to fix problems, sure, but we can't let them block out everything else.
And that leads into the idea that gratitude isn't just, a fleeting emotion.
Exactly. It's a state of mind, something you have to consciously cultivate. The story of Gadharvika's father is just, wow.
Tell us about that again.
Well, his daughter might have had a serious tumor, a terrifying prospect, but his reaction was this deep, calm gratitude, acceptance, focus on the present, even when things looked really bad.
Even during the scan, the radiologist was nervous.
Yeah, the radiologist was part of their spiritual community and clearly anxious. but the father remained anchored in gratitude. It's an incredible example of how powerful that mindset can be in really tough situations.
So how do we cultivate that? Does he offer practical steps?
He does. He suggests taking a moment, reflecting the last 24 hours, and pinpointing, say, 3 to 5 specific things or people you're genuinely grateful for. And be descriptive about it. Really feel it.
And maybe make it a regular thing?
Yeah, like a weekly action point.
Yeah.
Actually tell people you appreciate them. He even gives a framework. Recognize the good. Remember it. Reciprocate.
Remember, reciprocate. I like that.
He also shares a personal story about a video of his going viral. Initially seemed like a negative thing.
But it turned into a positive.
Exactly. Opened up a much bigger platform for him. Shows how our first take isn't always the whole picture.
So the essence is hit pause, notice the good, hold on to it, and express thanks. It's a way of life, really.
That's the idea. Gratitude as a perspective shift.
Okay, so back to Harry. The conversation then shifts to the issues in his marriage, leading into speaking sensitively in relationships.
Right. Harry admitted they fought constantly. Lolita wanted him to change. He'd just leave the room. Familiar territory for many couples, unfortunately.
Das uses an anecdote here, doesn't he? Harsh words fly.
Yeah, from a flight to London. His point was about not judging people instantly. You just don't know what they're going through.
And that connects to the story about Manasi at Heathrow.
It does. She had this really negative experience at an ISKCon temple. Someone at the desk was just rude, unwelcoming, imposed these odd rules.
And it colored her whole view of the place.
Completely. It shows how much impact insensitive words or behavior can have, especially somewhere you expect compassion. One bad interaction can tarnish a whole relationship or even an organization's reputation.
He tells another story, too, about an older monk.
Yeah, the monk who kicked a bucket. The point being, if you treat even inanimate objects with disrespect, it can easily spill over into how you treat people. Insensitivity becomes a habit.
He links it to our disposable culture, potentially affecting relationships. That's an interesting thought.
It is, isn't it? This idea that maybe we start seeing people as disposable too, if we're not careful.
Okay, so staying with Harry, still stuck in traffic. His focus shifts to the broken AC. This leads into cultivating a virtuous vision.
Right, that small complaint about the AC sets up a bigger point. He talks about how popular dog videos are.
Everyone loves dog videos.
Exactly. But then he tells this story about an amazing, super capable dog, does everything right. But the one time it forgets the keys, the owner just lays into it.
Ouch. Focusing only on the mistake.
Precisely. It highlights our tendency as humans to zoom in on flaws and overlook countless good deeds or qualities. We take the good for granted.
So the advice is,
choose to see the good. Actively look for it. Be the one that finds the gold, as he puts it.
he gives that example of Aditya Birla.
Yeah, the industrialist. When his senior executive made a huge, costly mistake, Birla first sat down and wrote a list. Points in favor of this employee.
Wow. Deliberately focusing on the positive before addressing the problem.
It's about investing appreciation before making a withdrawal. Like a relationship bank account, you need a positive balance.
And he offers those 3 questions before giving feedback.
Crucial questions. Do I have the right relationship? Do I have the right motive? Do I know the right way to say it?
That last one, the right way, is key. Illustrated by Jack and Jill.
Perfectly. Jill makes soup that's a bit bland. Jack's reaction is just blunt, insensitive. Even if the feedback is valid, how you say it matters enormously.
And this all clicks for Harry, right? He starts seeing his own behavior towards Lolita.
He does. He recognizes those small acts of contempt, connects them to their arguments. He loves her, he says, but struggles to forgive her harsh words from their last fight.
Which brings us neatly to forgiveness. The power of forgiveness.
A big one. And Das admits it's not easy, not like changing channels.
He uses a story from the Ramayana.
Yes, Sita speaking harshly to Laxman. But her words came from intense anxiety about Rama's safety. It shows how strong emotions can cloud our judgment.
So the lesson is?
Patience when someone's angry. And empathy. Try to understand the suffering behind the words or actions, and crucially, separate the incident from the person.
Don't define someone by their worst moment.
Exactly. He shares another story from his travels. A husband feeling betrayed by his wife's actions, their bond seemingly broken.
And the advice there relates to a higher purpose.
Right. Look beyond the hurt. What's the bigger picture? The value of the relationship overall. Maybe she's a great mother to their son. What harm would divorce cause? Sometimes choosing harmony is more important than being right.
But he makes a distinction about justice, doesn't he?
A very important one. Personal forgiveness is one thing. Societal justice, accountability, the rule of law that's different. Forgiving someone personally doesn't mean there shouldn't be consequences for harmful actions in a legal sense.
Okay, so summarizing forgiveness. Empathy, look beyond. Separate the act from the person, focus on a higher purpose or the good parts, and understand it's distinct from societal justice.
That captures it well. Then the conversation shifts again to something more subtle, perhaps, the influence of association.
How the people around us affect us.
Profoundly. He starts with that funny, slightly gross proverb
Mm,
about the man and his morning ablutions.
right, which reminded him it was a delicious samosa the night before.
It's memorable. The point is, our surroundings, our associations, they rub off on us, whether we realize it or not. They can lift us up or drag us down.
He uses the smoking analogy.
Yeah, the non-smoker hangs out with a smoker.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't pressure them to smoke directly, but they share values. Maybe the smoker seems confident.
And the non-smoker picks up on that vibe.
Subconsciously, yeah. And eventually, the smoking might follow. It shows how careful we need to be about who we spend significant time with, especially our close circle. Our values can align without us even noticing.
It's around this point Harry gets that call from Lolita.
Yeah, a quick, crackly call, she's with her mother. Signal's bad. But Harry's mind is still mainly on work stress, affecting their relationship.
Which leads perfectly into workplace dynamics. Cooperation versus competition.
Exactly. The next section. Navigating competition and discovering purpose at work.
Back to the traffic jam analogy for competition at work.
Yep. Harry voices that common dilemma. How do you stay friendly with colleagues when you're also competing with them for the next promotion?
What's Ace's take on that?
He suggests reframing competition. Instead of competing against others, compete with yourself. Focus on your own improvement, your personal best.
That shifts the focus inward.
It does. He tells a story about his own singing audition, where the mic wasn't working properly. His performance suffered, but it was due to external factors he couldn't control. Sometimes, it's not about you versus them.
He also mentions the ethical side of competition.
Right, like in sports, the pressure to win can tempt people to cheat. Or the story of Jamin, the hairstylist.
Oh yeah, sabotaging his rival.
Exactly. That's unhealthy, unethical, external competition. The real win is in internal competition, getting better than you were yesterday, and finding your purpose through self-discovery.
He quotes Paulo Coelho.
When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. That sense of dreams and reality merging when you find your path. And he introduces Ikigai,
The Japanese concept, that intersection of what you love, what you're good at.
what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Your reason for being. He mentions Siraj and his family finding theirs early on.
But what if you haven't found it yet?
His advice is practical. Find ways to love what you have to do right now while making space to do what you love to do. Keep exploring. He even mentions an Ikigai worksheet in the book's appendix.
Useful. Okay, then there's decoding spirituality at work, addressing misconceptions.
Big time. First one, spiritual people aren't ambitious or they're pushovers. Not true.
He uses Arjuna from the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, Arjuna's hesitation before the battle seemed like compassion, but Krishna explained the difference between knowing the path and actually walking it. Sometimes action, even difficult action, is necessary for the greater good, for justice.
And the other misconception, that being spiritual makes you weird or vulnerable at work.
Right. He tells the story of the sage and the snake. The sage advised the snake to stop being violent, but the snake took it too literally and just let everyone abuse it.
So the sage had to clarify.
Exactly. Give up the bite, violence, but don't lose your strength, your boundaries. Spirituality and ambition, or spirituality and strength, aren't opposites. It's about right motive, right means.
Makes sense. Then, integrity and character. Actions speaking louder than words.
Definitely. Motivation for doing the right thing often comes more from the heart, inspiration than just the head conviction. Your actions show your character.
He breaks down practical spirituality into 3 parts.
Vichar, achar, prachar.
Okay, what are those?
Vichar is the philosophy, the understanding. Achar is putting that into practice, the actions that build your character. And prachar is how your good conduct naturally inspires others, living the example.
It's at this point they finally arrive at the temple. Harry's been listening patiently.
Yes, they pull up, and then, bang, here he gets the call.
Lolita's in the hospital.
He just panics, rushes off, which dramatically sets up the final wheel.
The 4th wheel, the wheel of social contribution, selflessness.
Exactly, our contribution to the world beyond ourselves. He uses the ice cream versus candle analogy.
Ice cream is selfish enjoyment.
Candle is selfless giving. The goal is to shift focus from being an ice cream just consuming to being a candle-giving light.
But why focus on the other three wheels first? Work, relationships, spirituality.
The oxygen mask analogy. You have to secure your own mask before you can help others. It's about being selfishly selfless, getting yourself stable and strong so that you can effectively serve.
And where does selflessness start?
At home, with family, the people closest to you, having low expectations of others, but high expectations of yourself when it comes to helping them.
Like Harry rushing to Lolita.
A perfect spontaneous example. And the
Yeah.
story of Lolita, the farmer's wife,
Running a marathon?
to pay for her husband's medical care, driven purely by love and selflessness for her family. Incredible.
But it doesn't stop at family, right?
No, the circle expands, helping the community, the nation, like people helping during a fire, or the stories of service from Brigadier Sunil Kumar. There's a deeper fulfillment, Das suggests, in serving that wider circle.
He has one final analogy, surfers and divers.
Right. Non-spiritual focus, maybe just seeking personal gain, is like surfing, staying on the surface, temporary highs. Spirituality, especially service, is like diving, going deep, finding profound, lasting joy.
And maintaining that connection, that love for a higher purpose involves.
Right action, right intention, right mood. Acting ethically, acting selflessly, acting from the heart.
And then the twist at the hospital.
The best kind of twist.
Right.
Lolita's not just sick.
She's pregnant.
Yeah, the illness was morning sickness, a wonderful sign.
Wow. What a journey through those excerpts.
It really is. And the core message that keeps coming through is how interconnected everything is. Your personal well-being, work, relationships, spirit, and your contribution to the world, they feed each
Oh,
other.
definitely. So many practical things to take away, too. Gratitude, sensitive communication, forgiveness.
The power of association, finding purpose in work, and that ultimate joy in service starting close to home.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, maybe think about those four wheels in your own life. Work, relationships, spirituality, social contribution. Does one feel a bit wobbly, out of alignment?
And what tiny adjustment to the steering wheel, maybe more gratitude or a small act of service, could bring things into better balance?
Just something to ponder. It's all about that journey towards balance and purpose.
A great point to end on. We really encourage exploring these ideas further, maybe even picking up life's amazing secrets. Thanks so much for sharing these excerpts and for joining us on this deep dive.